Hey there, college football fans. Tom Downey here, back with, as promised, another head coach candidate list because Derek Mason has been fired by Vanderbilt after a fairly disastrous 0-8 start to the 2020 season. Now, Mason had done some promising things at Vanderbilt, the second head coach in program history to lead Vanderbilt to 2 bowl games, which it just indicates how bad this team actually is. A 3-9, 4-8 start in his first 2 years, but then Mason, by Vanderbilt standards, kind of got rolling. A bowl game in 2016, nearly made one 2017, made one again in 2018, got an extension, and then everything completely fell apart as he went 3-9 in 2019 and 0-8 in 2020. It was clearly time for Derek Mason to be fired by Vanderbilt. So before we break down my top 10 list, I want you guys to let me know, who do you think the Commodores should hire? This will be the pinned comment, by the way, on today's video. So if you want to get your votes in, scroll on down and let me know. Now we're going to go from 10 to 1, and make note, Vanderbilt, this is a slightly different list than what you might normally see out there because this job, frankly, is not the most coveted job out there. So just keep that in mind. At number 10, we're going to go with Brent Pry, the defensive coordinator from Penn State. Now, this is a somewhat familiar name for Vanderbilt fans, as Brent Pry was the associate head coach and the co-defensive coordinator under James Franklin back when he was the head coach of Vanderbilt. Now, allegedly, Pry was a candidate for the Michigan State job. This would be his first head coaching job in college football. I don't think it's the most likely outcome, but I did want to make note of Pry, given his ties to the program. Now we got some gear on sale for you guys. Head over to chatsports.com/CFB Monday. Cyber Monday sales are ongoing right now, up to 50% off a ton of items, including you Vanderbilt fans. They got you guys covered. But you know what? If you're not a Vandy fan, you just like college football, they got you covered too. All the major college football programs have gear on sale. So head over to chatsports.com/CFB Monday. That'll save you 50% off. I will put that link, by the way, in the comments and in the description just to make your lives a little bit easier. Let's go to number 9, Mike MACINTYRE, who has some familiarity with this program, namely because, well, A, he played at Vanderbilt, and his dad, George, by the way, was the head coach for about 6 years for Vandy. Now, there was a couple years ago where MACINTYRE was the next hot up-and-coming head coach. He was doing a great job at Colorado. Then he got fired. Then he went to Ole Miss. That coaching staff was overhauled, and now he's the defensive coordinator at Memphis. So a year or two ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, he'd be a great hire. Now, that star is no longer quite as bright as it once was. Now, I think if we're being honest about what Vanderbilt is as a college football program, this is one of the lower-rated Power 5 programs in college football. It's better than Kansas, and that's not saying a whole lot, though. So rate the Vanderbilt head coaching job on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you don't ever want to take that job because you think you'll never have success there. 10 being you think I'm being an idiot, and it's actually the best job in college football. I think we're somewhere in the middle, probably like a 3 or a 4. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I've seen this name mentioned a couple times, and I'm kind of intrigued by it. RHETT LASHLEE, the now offensive coordinator at Miami. Look, he is only 37 years old, but he's done a very impressive job as the Miami Hurricanes offensive coordinator. D'Eriq King's had a very nice year outside of the game against Clemson. He was also, by the way, the Auburn OC from 2013-2016, although it is not quite the same full powers he has now at Miami. This would be a significant jump for LASHLEE, but I think it is one at least worth considering for Vanderbilt. Time for the biggest name on this list. That is Jeff Fisher, who he is certainly a known commodity in the area. Again, was the Titans/Oilers head coach for an incredibly long time in the NFL, from 1995 to 2010. I think the best comparison you can make is this is kind of similar to Arizona State hiring Herm Edwards. They go with the NFL coach who doesn't really have a whole lot of college football experience, does get them some national attention, gets them some publicity, and maybe it ends up working out. Now, I do think Jeff Fisher would have interest in that job. I think he'd love the USC head coaching job if that one ever comes open again, excuse me. But is Jeff Fisher ever going to make a return to coaching, be it in the NFL or college football? I'm not convinced, but get your votes in here. Type Y for yes or N for no. Skip Holtz checks in at number 6, and yes, that is indeed Lou's kid. He's been at Louisiana Tech for a very long time, and it hasn't been the most successful tenure. That's why he's, still at Louisiana Tech and not getting an upgrade somewhere else. But there are some reasons why I think this makes some sense for both sides. Now, former Louisiana Tech athletic director Tommy McClelland is currently Vanderbilt's deputy AD. So again, there's that connection. Interim head coach for Vanderbilt, Todd Fitch, spent a significant amount of time with Skip Holtz as well. And look, they went 10-3 last season, dipped a little bit to 4-3 this season, but he's done a decent job. I don't think Skip Holtz should be the number one call for Vanderbilt. I think it's a worthwhile interview, and if you missed out on some of the other top candidates, maybe Holtz ends up being a decent fallback option. To number 5, Willie Fritz, who I remain a pretty big fan of over at Tulane. He has never quite taken the full leap that you're looking for. 5-5 this season, but to win back-to-back bowl games, it means a lot at Tulane. It's never been done before, and Fritz has already accomplished that. Now, the one potential red flag here, Fritz is 60 years old. That's a lot older than you would expect for a, lower program head coach who hasn't done a whole lot elsewhere in the FBS level. He's 5-5 this year at Tulane. I think it's a close enough move from Tulane to Vanderbilt that it makes enough sense region-wise. I think he should be a candidate for the job. Now, we'll be breaking down every single college football playoff ranking for you guys, so if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe. The committee sends it to us once they reveal them. So again, hit that big red button and subscribe today. That way you don't miss out on any of the college football playoff rankings every Tuesday evening. To number 4, Will Healy, the head coach at Charlotte. Now that his next two names kind of fit a similar pattern here. Former FCS Coach of the Year. He might be 9-9 at Charlotte, but he is 7-4 in Conference USA. Also, it's Charlotte. Going 500 means a lot for a program that is still very much being built up. And oh, by the way, his uncle Chip, back in the late 1960s, was an All-American linebacker at Vanderbilt. So there is at least a connection there. Let's go to number 3 on my list. Coastal Carolina head coach Jamey Chadwell. They're 9-0 this year, which is, I'd say, fairly incredible given that, it's Coastal Carolina. And although Chadwell hasn't done anything at Vanderbilt, he did play at East Tennessee State, so there is somewhat of a local region connection there. I think he'd be a strong fit at Vanderbilt. I think the job he's done at Coastal Carolina lends itself well to trying to rebuild a Vanderbilt program, although I think Chadwell might be willing to be patient and stick around at a place that now will love him forever with this 9-0 start. Before we get to my top 2, I want you guys to let me know, who is your dream hire for the Vanderbilt job? Maybe it's James Franklin gets fired by Penn State, which I doubt, and he ends up back at Vanderbilt. But that's, probably reaching it for a little bit. But dream hire. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Let's go to a potential outside-the-box hire here. Lance Leipold, the head coach at Buffalo. He has won everywhere he's been, both with Buffalo and, of course, D3 Wisconsin Whitewater. Now, he's got no ties to the area or the school, but that hasn't really stopped Vanderbilt before, and I would think that the mindset for the Commodores could be, if you won at Buffalo and you won at Wisconsin Whitewater, maybe you'd be able to win with us here at Vanderbilt. It is a very tough job. That hasn't stopped Leipold before. I mean, when he took over, Buffalo had done really nothing in MAC history, and now he's got them having some success there. So I like where they're at as a potential fit there. That's why Lance checks in at number 2 on my list. We're going to get to number 1 here on my list, and I like the fit a lot. That is defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, Clark Lea. And there's a lot of connections here that just make you go, oh yeah, this fits. He is from Nashville, and he played at Vanderbilt. I don't believe this Vanderbilt job is particularly attractive. But if you're someone like Clark Lea, and you go, oh, I get to go back to my alma mater. I get to be the head coach. I've done a fantastic job as the Notre Dame defensive coordinator, where we've ranked top 14 every single year I've been there in points per game, and it's actually gone in the right direction, by the way, from 18.2 and a 16.7 this year. I think from a defensive coordinator success perspective, it makes sense for Vanderbilt to want him. And on top of that, he's from the area. He played there. A homecoming makes a lot of sense for all parties involved. One potential issue, which I think they can work through, is Notre Dame is in position to make a deep college football playoff run, and that could make things awkward with timing. But if you're Vanderbilt, to bring home the favorite son as the head coach to replace Derek Mason, I think that makes a ton of sense.